Run with the Deer Flies, 25K, finished first overall in 2:07:44, I believe is what it was. I think this is the fourth time in a row that I've won the race. I don't think it's been more than four. Got a cool bowl this year for an award, like a custom handmade bowl, which is pretty nice. Time was about 5-6 minutes faster than last year. I think last year I just dicked around too much, but I also was having issues. This year I didn't have any issues. I just didn't have a real drive to drop anything lower than that 2:07 on this course. Could have been a few minutes better, maybe like 4 or 5 if I really pushed. I ran alone in the 25K all race. I didn't have any pressure on me, so that was pretty nice. There was a couple 15K people early on, the first couple miles. Then I lost sight of them because they were jetting, turning and burning for their race, and I wasn't worried about them being in a different race. I was 4th person to about mile 3.5, mile 4, and then I passed one of the younger kids who was in 3rd, but then obviously to the split. But I didn't see the top 2 in front of me after, we'll say, like mile 4, or even anybody behind me after that. But I knew where it was. There was 2 different color bibs. Yellow was 25K, white was 15K, so I knew who the competition was. When there was nobody around me, I wasn't going to try to throttle too much and burn up, at least early on. I was going to try to save it for later today when it got hotter and when the actual trail gets a little bit harder. I know I set a Pace Pro up for 2:10 last night, but when I clicked on my watch today before the race, I clicked on navigation and not Pace Pro, so I didn't have, splits like if I was falling behind or if I was ahead the whole race. But I knew mentally, as each mile ticked off, I was able to calculate a little bit my projected time. So that was kind of nice. Last year I only had like 15:04 something when I uploaded, but this year I got like 15:05. So it's kind of weird, but whatever. And I also got like 200 feet more a gain with the same course. Just one of those weird things, because I think last year early on I was turning and burning a lot more on some of the switchbacks, so I didn't capture as much. Of course, Garmin probably corrects a little bit of it as well, because when I did the Pace Pro, it popped up to like 15.2 miles, when last year when I uploaded the activity it only had 15.04. so just little abnormalities. Who knows how that happens. My plan was to take it easy and use this more of a training run, at least coming in or when I got here this morning, because last night I could just feel myself being gassy, and I was farting up a storm last night in bed, and it stunk real bad. It woke me up a few times, like when I had the gas. So I was expecting to have a bad race this morning, because I didn't really get much sleep, maybe 4.5, 5 hours total. And even this morning I was gassy when I woke up, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to shit during the race real bad, because it was just one of those shits. You could tell when I was farting, smelling, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be bad. It's gonna hit me mid-race, because I didn't really go this morning. But luckily I didn't have to, even though I did pack a couple wet wipes for that specific purpose, for the just in case scenario. I did poop a little bit when I got here today in the one bathroom. So that was a little bit of a relief, getting that out a little bit, and I think that might have helped. Who knows? I did wet my shirt again this morning. I froze my bottles a little bit last night. My 220-ounce Ultra Spire bottles, I just put like an ounce in and let them freeze overnight. So keep my liquid a little bit cooler during the race, at least for a more extended period of time. And then I had another jug of water I just put in the fridge to keep it chill. And then when I got here this morning, well, right before the race started, I actually dipped my whole shirt that I was wearing into the water, and even my hat. So I started off cooler and wet. Seems to help a little bit, because when I would touch my shirt at any point in the race, it felt cooler and not hot and not dry. So that seems to be a good strategy that I've been implementing for the past couple races. I mean, hell, any little thing like that would help in like 70, 80 degree weather. Is something to take into consideration. But I didn't wet my shorts or get my feet wet. Made sure they stayed dried a little bit longer. Did take a hit of smelling salts before the race. And I don't know, I still didn't really get mentally into it at really any point of the race. But I was going to let the couple kids and my buddy go early on, since they were 15Ks. I wasn't going to try to keep up with them and turn and burn, because there was just no point. And I wasn't really going to try to put any real pressure on until I got caught or had somebody come up behind me. And again, nobody around me all race within my, well, for my race. And even after that, like 4 mile, there was nobody really in sight until the dam. But yeah, for some reason today, well, I've done this, like I said, I've done this race probably a half dozen times. I've won it 4 times in a row. It's changed a little bit. Probably 3 years ago now. Whatever. I think it was 3 years ago. For some reason, I wasn't really paying attention to the course markings and flagging as much as I normally would today. It just felt like my body was sort of taking over and using like its own GPS signal telling me where to go, what was coming up. It was just weird. I was more focusing on my feet and my footwork than anything, instead of looking up. I mean, I still looked up, but I had like real trail vision or sixth sense today. It was just weird and neat at the same time to have that, where it allowed me to concentrate on my feet instead of the flagging itself. It's just like, all right, here comes, like, I'm looking down, not even paying attention where I'm at on the course. I'm like, all right, here comes a turn up here, and then we'll say like 50 feet. And I just knew to like turn here and turn there. With only having done this course, you know, maybe a half dozen times, at least the front section, it was just weird to have that, because I only do it once a year. It's not like I come and visit it all the time. So to be that familiar and have that sixth sense just is weird, I guess. It's the only way to describe it. So I can't really tell you about the surroundings or anything like that today, but there's really nothing to talk about that I probably haven't already from past years. A lot of rolling hills, some switchbacks, a couple access roads, grassy hills, like a good solid mix. Nothing technical, nothing real hard. I think the steepest hill was 200 feet within like 2 or 3 tenths. And there's a couple other 50 to 70 feet of gain hills, more so noticeably on the back half within like a tenth or two. Just from the angles, they're a little bit steeper. There might be some other bigger hills on the front half, but they're spaced over a longer period of time. We'll say like 4/10 instead of that compacted 2/10. So they're not as difficult per se, even though your legs might be burning for a longer period of time. I did power walk a little bit here or there, mainly on the hills. I didn't do anything on the flats or the downhills. It was just only on the uphills. Like if I felt my legs starting to burn a little bit, I would stop and like power walk or hike, even jog a little bit, just to relieve the pressure for them, like not completely catching on fire. And then I'd start running again. Just trying to play it smart. And definitely power walked on the big hill. And then I think like one other one. And just trying to save energy and my legs and my body and keeping my heart rate down was more of a goal than anything. Because every time I would look back on any section, there was nobody in sight. So I didn't have that pressure put on me, or I guess I call it like a scared tactic. I almost feel scared when somebody's like behind me coming up during a trail race. Road races, it doesn't happen, but trails, it does. Get this like anxious, scary type feeling. And I didn't have that at all today, which was awesome. I know the first aid station, I took 2 cups of water, one to drink, one to splash. When was the second one? Oh, the second one, did the same thing. The third one, at the breast of the dam, took a Gatorade, drank that, splashed water on me. The fourth one, did the same thing, Gatorade and water. And then when I came back to the breast of the dam, did the same thing, Gatorade and water. Even though I had 2 20s on me, I had noon caffeinated in the one and water on the other. Water was more for keeping myself moist. Noon caffeinated was obviously for electrolyte purposes. I really didn't use the water too much. I would say 5 out of the 20 ounces was used. And I think I drank, I would say 16, 17 of the 20 of the electrolytes. I was kind of being conservative with it. Didn't really drink anything out of that till probably mile 6 or 7 on the way back around the front loop. And then I did a little bit more on the back half around the dam. I was trying to save it more for the dam back half, like the last 5-6 miles, because I know it's more hillier and harder than the front half. So again, strategy wise, smarter. I did turn it up a little bit on the road section right before the dam both times, and then like when I came back through and did the same thing that last, we'll say, mile of the race. I did crank it up a little bit just to stay ahead of people if anybody was trying to catch or come in sight of me. And even on the dam part, some of the flatter sections, I did crank it just a little bit just to stay gapped from the competition, because obviously I didn't know what was happening behind me. I was thinking, I had 5+ minutes or maybe even 10, but when I looked at the results, I only really came in maybe 4 minutes ahead of second place. So I probably did screw around a little bit too much, but I still had a 4-minute lead from second. But generally, I have 10 to 15, even 20 minutes from second place during this race. I was sort of banking on that a little bit. I wasn't expecting somebody to drop a 2:11. I was more expecting like a 2:15, 2:17 range, if anything. So I was a little bit slacky today, I guess. But it all panned out. Only had 2 miles over 9 minutes, which would have been the hill miles. The rest obviously were under 9. I did have a bunch of 7s, especially in the front half. At the first 5-6 miles, I think, we'll say 45 minutes in, I was like 6 miles into the race. Yeah, 6 miles in, I was about 45 minutes into the race. So that left me 9 miles in an hour and a half was what I was thinking to finish the race in first. Obviously that wouldn't have got it done today, but I knew I had some time with how I banked time in the front half, and I think a lot of it had to do with not chasing and trying to turn and burn early on. I had more left, potentially that second half of the race for the just in case, because the hills, there was no way on the back half I was going to try to run up there and burn my legs up. It's smarter to take them easy and let other people, if they want to try to catch me, burn themselves up running the hills. And it was really no water on the course today. It was very dry. The few spots that did, or usually hold water, maybe 1 or 2 of them were trickling. Other than that, there was nothing. Even the dam, like the spillway, was very low. You could have hopped on rocks and got across without getting your feet wet, but I just went through to save time. And I wasn't going to piss around with that shit too much. So I just got my feet wet and jumped in a little bit both times. The front, when I first went across, I did try to splash some water on me, but it was just smelly and gooey. So I didn't do it in the second half because I still had a lot of water in my bottle. And the hardest part of the whole race, I would say, is right before we come back off the back half to the breast of the dam again, or spillway. That little downhill was probably the most technical or hardest part. I did take a piss there too, which cost me 20-30 seconds. I just felt like I had enough of a lead that I could spare that time to take a piss, even though I only had maybe 1.5 miles, 2 miles left. I was like, just get it out before it becomes an issue and you start thinking about it. I think I got a pretty good suntan at the finish line area. I was waiting for everybody to come in and talk to a bunch of people, meet some people today. Again, didn't really have any issues, like mentally, physically, but my heart rate was up a little bit more, 150, 160 range, when it felt like it should have been lower by about like 10 beats or so, 15 beats. So it did feel a little bit higher than it should have been. That could have just been from the heat and being summer, who knows. But it's been like that for a couple weeks now during races. I'm just trying to stay under that 170 where I'm just going to start using too much energy, depleting myself, is I guess the goal. I think that might be about it. The course didn't change this year. There was more people, I think, pointing you in the right direction, so that was helpful. but also there was definitely more flagging, even though I wasn't, like, I noticed it, but I wasn't paying attention to it. But I do notice there's more arrows and flagging than previous years. And honestly, with how I was not paying attention, nobody should have got lost today. If somebody got lost, it was their own stupid fault. Because I think they really locked in how to flag and mark the course. Even though some of the times that they sprayed on the ground, like some of the routes that you couldn't see, they spray painted. Actually, I almost tripped on a bunch of them just because I saw them and like my foot just seemed like I wanted to kick them. And I did kick one rock today that hurt my big toe on my left foot. So it's probably going to become a blood blister. Luckily, it was a rock that broke away on one of the switchback downhills than like a root, because if it was a root, I probably would have went flying. I did see a bunch of people fail today. Nothing too bad, just minor scrapes and stuff. That's about it, I would say, that I have to say today. I don't know, just a good local race. Even though I didn't want to get out of bed this morning, I really just wanted to stay in there and sleep. But I guess I can take a nap when I get home and sleep in tomorrow, catch up on shit. I don't know. Come check out Run Deer Flies next year. Both races are good. 25 really gets you going. That extra 10K is harder and more fun, honestly. I wouldn't worry about getting lost. The aid stations are plentiful, and we really do take care of runners. I'll just leave it at that. 207 this year, and better than last year. Just 5-6 minutes faster. Ran smarter, I guess.